One of the difficult things as a CFD broker is that if you're taking the other side of these trades, you're naturally going to end up with exposure to whatever that asset is. So let's say on a given day, the retail customers are, net long gold. Well, all of a sudden that brokerage is net short gold, and they need to hedge that short exposure maybe by going out and trying to buy gold or buy gold futures somewhere. And so the idea that maybe every single one of these CFD brokers everywhere from, South Africa to Dubai to Luxembourg would be able to hedge that exposure easily by trading, gold perpetuals on AX. I mean, every single one of those brokerages could be a customer of ours.
Given that, why is it that this kind of perpetual futures are not prominent in traditional finance?
It's an interesting history. So the perpetual as a concept was written down in sort of an academic paper in the 90s in the US. And it existed in certain forms as over-the-counter derivatives that were mostly, being offered by banks to very large institutions. But it was really cryptocurrency exchanges in like 2012, 2013 that first made an exchange traded product in the form of a perpetual that was available for everyone to trade. And of course, the idea there being that, again, they wanted to give leveraged exposure to Bitcoin, but Bitcoin wasn't a deliverable commodity tied to a particular date. They just wanted something that would like forever expose you to sort of the forward rate of Bitcoin at a leveraged amount. And so that crypto really is the asset class that made perpetuals an actual understood vehicle. Prior to that, no one knew what a perpetual was. And it really took probably the better part of 5-6 years for perpetuals to really catch on in a huge way in crypto, such that everyone knew them, understood them, and traded them, and then ended up with exchanges like Binance and FTX and OKX and Bybit and all these exchanges that have perpetuals now. Prior to that, there's been issues in basically every jurisdiction around whether perpetuals have been allowed as a class that people can trade. Because even, for example, in the US, regulation in the US around futures primarily contemplates a future as something that has an expiration date. If it doesn't have an expiration date, that makes it something else. Maybe it makes it a swap, and swaps have very different rules in the US than futures. And so as a result, people have not tried to kind of push the envelope and try to get these approved by the regulatory bodies and get them, added to the rule set and be able to launch. But there's a second important point here of why this has not taken off a lot, in traditional finance, which is that you have the classic innovator's dilemma. The incumbent exchanges make a lot of money off of people rolling futures every month and every quarter. And if perpetuals are a superior vehicle, if they were to launch them, they might eat into their own revenues when they don't need to. A lot of these exchanges have, dominant market share in traditional finance. And so they haven't necessarily tried to create perpetual derivatives to replace traditional expiring futures.
So I just wonder why someone hasn't created this, because it's a superior vehicle and reduces the costs for the trader.
The traditional financial system in futures is one of the most critical industries in the world. It's one of the largest industries in the world, and it's one of the slowest moving industries in the world. So in 2008, post-financial crisis, the Dodd-Frank legislation created this notion of a regulated swaps facility called a swap execution facility. It's now been almost 20 years since that legislation, and there are fewer than 10 operating swap execution facilities in the US. I think the number is even smaller than that. And so again, the industry moves very slowly. How many crypto exchanges rolled out perpetuals, including DeFi exchanges? Can you guess the number?
Has to be around 50 or more.
It's probably close to 100 at this
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so large. And so one of the things that excited me so much about kind of my short experience at FTX US, regardless of what happened there, is getting to see what it looks like when an entire industry from scratch is able to move as fast as possible, and what it means to like really push the frontier of market structure. And we as a company really wanted to take that ethos and bring that back to traditional finance and say, we're going to start from scratch too. We're going to be regulated, which is going to be hard. It's going to take us a year and a half to get all the licenses we need, but we're going to move at the same pace after that, that digital assets move and try to really kind of bring something new to bear. And that's what I think is, differentiates us from what's going on previously.